Storage units are usually simply receptacles for unwanted items that cannot be thrown away, boxes of documents that have outgrown a filing cabinet, or large equipment that does not have a place in the house. However, sometimes more interesting and unusual items find their way into storage. Businesses make a living by auctioning abandoned storage units to bidders, some of which are hopeful to open the lock and discover a unit filled with long-forgotten valuable family heirlooms. But occasionally, something more sinister lurks behind the padlocks. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be looking at 3 instances where storage units were discovered to be hiding something quite chilling. Human leg discovered. When Shannon A. Wisnant bought the contents of an abandoned storage locker in Maiden, North Carolina, he was pleasantly surprised to discover a barbecue grill inside. Excited to put his new find to use, he promptly took the grill home, ready to fire it up. However, when he opened it, he was astonished to find a mummified human leg waiting for him inside. After the initial shock faded, he called 911 to report the discovery. As finding a mummified leg inside of a barbecue grill is not a common occurrence, the media immediately picked up the story and broadcast it in the following days. After seeing one of the news stories, a man named John Wood got quite the shock when he realized that the leg was his leg. Wood had survived a plane crash in 2004 that took his father. The event caused him to have his leg amputated. Thinking at the time that he might like to preserve the leg as a memorial to his father, he kept it in a freezer until his power got cut off, and a friend of his who worked at a mortuary gave him some embalming fluid and showed him how to embalm the leg himself at home. After soaking the leg in the fluid, he put it in a possum trap to protect it from animals and hung it in a tree in his front yard for 6 months, until the sun dried and mummified it. After getting evicted, Wood placed the leg in his grill for safekeeping and stashed the grill in his storage unit, where it lay forgotten until Wisnant bought the abandoned unit and rediscovered Wood's leg. When Wood came forward to claim the leg, he assumed that Wisnant would be happy to reunite the preserved limb with its living body. But in a shocking and strange turn of events, Wisnant insisted that the leg rightfully belonged to him, as he had purchased the storage unit and all of its contents, and announced that he would be keeping the leg. What followed was a strange and entirely unprecedented court battle for custody of the leg that ended up being aired on an episode of Judge Mathis, and stunned even the desensitized reality show audience. Judge Mathis ruled that Wisnant needed to return the leg to Wood, and chastised Wisnant for his behavior in withholding Wood's leg, but required Wood to reimburse the $5,000 cost of buying the storage unit. The ruling marked the culmination of what had developed into a bitter feud between the two men that went beyond the true ownership of a mummified leg. The elements of classism and exploitation that were so heavily embroiled in the affair even sparked the creation of a hit documentary called Finders Keepers that followed the two men and the small town of Maiden as they battled for custody over the leg. A meth lab. Anyone who bids on an unopened storage unit takes a gamble on whether or not the contents will be worth something. There is always a risk that it will be empty or full of trash and your investment will be wasted, but there is also a chance of winning big with a diamond in the rough. Steve Bowenan and his uncle Ken Bowenan thought that they were prepared for every eventuality when they decided to buy an unopened storage unit for $80 in Rancho Cordova, California. However, nothing could have prepared them for what they had unwittingly just purchased. Their first clues were several boxes labelled with "Danger, Poison," which they steered clear of until they began digging through the remaining boxes, which turned out to contain beakers, pipes, gas masks, and other accoutrements of a methamphetamine lab. They immediately notified the police, and an entire hazardous materials team was called in to suit up and search through all the toxic materials and poison, which contained enough old-fashioned and unstable equipment that the team had to wear full-body hazmat suits with oxygen apparatus when entering the unit and removing the dangerous and volatile chemicals. Along with all of the instruments and tools, officials also uncovered several gallons of meth itself. Although there is no indication as to whether the lab's original owners operated out of the storage unit or had simply moved the contents to the unit temporarily, it is not unheard of for labs to operate out of storage units due to their largely anonymous nature and ability to be abandoned for months if the owners suspect that they have the attention of the law. However, this strategy likely only works if you continue to pay the bills. The company that owned this unit had a policy of auctioning off any units that had not been paid for within 45 days, which is how the secret meth lab ended up in the hands of two unsuspecting storage unit bounty hunters. Additionally, because of the amount of incredibly volatile and poisonous chemicals used in the manufacture of methamphetamine, having a meth lab in such close proximity to so many people and their valuable possessions is a huge risk to both life and property. The fumes can be deadly to breathe in, and the chemicals have a tendency to catch on fire or explode. Because of these factors, the cleanup of an uncovered meth lab must be done by trained professionals and can cost upwards of $5,000. Fortunately, nothing bad happened while this meth lab was in residence, and it was able to be disposed of quickly. The police immediately began searching for the original owners, and although they did not strike the gold they thought they would, the Bohannans will likely think twice before they bid on another storage unit. Long missing bones found. Doris Woods was reported missing in Newark, Delaware in July 1997 when her husband Robert Wood contacted authorities and claimed that his wife had gone to visit her sister and had never arrived. After days of searching yielded nothing, police began to suspect that something more sinister may have happened to the poor woman. They returned to interview Robert many times and even searched two homes of the couple extensively, including the attics, crawl spaces, and surrounding property. However, their searches yielded nothing, and they had no reason to suspect that Robert was guilty in the disappearance of his wife. In fact, Robert was very well liked in the Scottsboro area where he lived, although his co-workers reported that he seemed rather like a loner and did not appear to have any family or close friends in the area. He had moved to the town after relocating several times in the years following his wife's disappearance and had settled in Scottsboro, Alabama, where he worked at a grocery store until he became sick and died in a hospital at age 59. It was at this point that, because he did not have any next of kin or even close friends, his storage unit went up for auction after the bill went unpaid for several weeks. When Stephen Terry and his father bought the contents of the abandoned locker for $170, they were hoping to find something valuable stashed away in the contents. What they were not expecting to find, however, was human remains. Hidden away in the corner were 3 yellow plastic grocery bags filled with human bones covered in dirt. They immediately contacted the authorities, who analyzed the bones and were able to make a positive identification based on dental records. The bones belonged to Robert's missing wife, Doris Ann Woods. Although authorities are still attempting to analyze the exact cause of and circumstances behind the death, they have said that the state of the bones and the dirty bags indicates that they were likely buried at some point and then uncovered before being placed in the storage unit. Additionally, both of the femur bones had been sawed in half with what appeared to be a power saw, likely so that they would fit into the bags. Because Robert moved away from the city of his wife's now suspected murder 7 years after her disappearance, but continued to pay the rent for the storage unit, many suspect that he kept the bones buried nearby, perhaps even on his own property, until he moved away, after which he stored them in the unit so that they would not be uncovered by the next owner. Robert's former co-workers were shocked at the news, saying that they would never have imagined him killing his wife and then hiding her body, proving that you never really know someone until you know what they have hidden in their storage unit. Storage unit finds are always a gamble and can either be highly lucrative or incredibly disappointing for the unsuspecting buyer. And, of course, there is always the small chance that there could be bone-chilling items inside, such as human remains. Perhaps the moral of this story is that when it comes to purchasing abandoned storage units, sight unseen, buyer beware. But what do you make of these storage units, and would you bid on one? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.